Hello everybody, Sean here, and we are taking a look at Temple of the Fist. This is the level 70 dungeon that you can unlock after the main scenario quest is complete, and you can do so in Rhalgr's Reach. There's an NPC right by the Aetheryte to unlock this. Once you've unlocked it, you can enter the dungeon, and again, it's a level 70 dungeon, and your gear should be appropriate, so mostly item level 280, 290, and above, if you want to have a decent time in here. Now, the first section of the dungeon is going to feature some trash pulls, mostly Corials and some weird moss creatures. Most of the trash pulls are pretty straightforward. You're not going to have an issue with them. Of course, everything in this dungeon hits incredibly hard, so keep that in mind. Your tank is going to want to use cooldowns frequently. But the main thing that you want to know of in the first section of this dungeon is these moss barriers. Now, they may seem unassuming at first, but the big thing is once you start attacking them, they will start spawning little moss enemies every so often, let's say. They will also spawn them when they die, just like this. You notice I walked right by them, I didn't even see them at first, but every so often they will spawn these little moss enemies. So if you hit a moss wall while you're fighting something else, you're probably going to have some extra adds trigger during the fight. So it's best to take one pack at a time and then engage the moss wall and the enemies that it spawns afterwards. That's the only major thing to be aware of. Just don't hit the moss wall until you're ready, and then deal with the adds that it spawns. Once you've done that a couple times, you'll reach the first boss. And the first boss is this Corial. Now, it's got standard Corial attacks, so basically you just want to watch out for the AoEs that it's going to use. The first part of the fight isn't going to be that difficult. It might actually seem rather easy, but that's because once this Corial gets a little weaker, a second one's going to spawn in, and they are about similar strength. And there's the second one right on cue, so the tank's going to want to grab both of those and hold on to them. Now, the main mechanic of this fight is every so often the Corials are going to leap to two sections just like this and do big AoEs. It can sometimes be hard to get out of them, and there's no real way to predict where it's going to go. You just got to be quick on the draw and run as fast as you can away to a safe area. Remember, sprint doesn't take your TP anymore, so if you're in a bad spot, you can sprint away and hopefully get to safety. There isn't really anything special about this fight, though, other than the fact that there's the two of them that do that big AoE. There are no other major AoEs to deal with. It's just a straight tank the two Corial fight and then dodge that massive AoE. Other than that, it's very straightforward, so just deal with that big AoE, DPS down the first Corial, work on the second one, and before you know it, you'll be finished this fight and moving on to the second part of the dungeon. And the second part of the dungeon, as you might expect, has more trash pulls that you will be doing, but the big thing to be aware of are these platforms that will shoot out and try to hit you. You could just tank the monsters outside of them, it's not really a big deal, but just try not to get hit by them when you're walking by, because you're going to have a bad time if you do. Other than that, it's pretty standard affair for the monsters, the trash pulls here. You won't see anything too unusual, so just grab each one, tank them, move on to the next. Again, everything in this dungeon does hit quite hard, so if you're the tank, pop cooldowns. If you're the healer, keep a close eye on that tank. You're going to be taking a lot of damage in this dungeon. But other than that, grab one group at a time, move on to the next. Pretty standard, just try not to get hit by those platforms each time they shoot out. And the second boss of this dungeon is this Arbuda fellow. It's a very interesting boss. I quite enjoyed this one. He has a couple unavoidable AoEs, so not much you can do there. Fourfold Shear, which you're seeing right there, is the Tank Buster. It's going to do around 20,000 damage, so make sure you're ready for it. Fore and Aft is a part of the Fore and Aft and Port and Star combo that he can do. And these two skills are very interesting. Fore and Aft attacks in front and behind him. Port and Star attacks to his left and right. So you need to stand opposite of where he's attacking. So if it's fore and aft, you need to be on the sides. If it's port and starboard, you need to be in front or behind him. He's basically using nautical terminology to dictate where he's going to attack. So you need to be in the opposite direction of that. So again, if you know the terminology, it's very straightforward for you. Again, port and star means he's attacking left and right. Fore and aft means he's attacking front and back. The other major mechanic of the fight, which you saw previously, is that he's going to put a sun or a moon over you and then put a sun or moon indicator on the ground. Very straightforward. If you've got the sun, go to the sun. If you've got the moon, go stand in the moon and you'll be a-okay. He also has a nuke which will target everyone, then drop down, then target you again, drop down. It does it 3 times. All you have to do is just run in a line or run in a circle and make sure you don't get hit by that. Killer Instinct is the last major mechanic of this fight. When he casts Killer Instinct, 3 directions will quickly be marked, with the 4th direction not getting marked. Whatever direction isn't marked, you need to hit him on that side. It lasts about 3 to 5 seconds. If you hit him on one of the marked sides, then you will take damage and get knocked back. If you hit him on the side that was not marked, then you will be fine. So when you see Killer Instinct going off, pay very close attention to the boss. There will be a quick indicator appearing on him of 3 sides where you cannot attack. So make sure you go to the 4th one and just attack there. Other than that, it's not too difficult of a fight. You just got to be aware of where you need to move. This is a movement-heavy boss. If it's port and aft or 4 and star, you need to make sure you're in the right position. If it's Killer Instinct, you need to make sure you're in the right position. And again, if he uses the sun and moon mechanic on you, it's all about being in the right position. You really just need to pay attention to the boss and be mindful of where you need to be standing, and you should get through the fight a-okay. Once you've killed our Buddha, obviously you can pick up your loot and move on to the 3rd section of this dungeon. And the 3rd part of this dungeon is against these ghost-like monk entities, although they use different weapons. Pretty straightforward affair here. Each group you're just going to want to grab and tank. They do attacks somewhat associated both with the monk and with the job they're kind of representing. But it's pretty straightforward stuff. Other than just dealing a ton of damage like everything else in this dungeon, you're just going to want to tank them and get through the fight. You will notice as you get further into the 3rd section, though, that there are these spheres that will appear and float towards you. They just do a big AoE when they finally blow up, so you just be mindful that if you see something floating your way, you need to get away from it because it's going to blow up eventually and you don't want to get hit by that. Other than those spheres, it's pretty straightforward. Just grab each group, tank them, kill them, and move on, and just try to avoid getting hit by that sphere AoE. Before too long, you will be at the 3rd boss. And the final boss of this dungeon is Mr. Ivan here, a very powerful monk, and he's got a few abilities we want to go over. The first is Spirit Wave, party-wide AoE that drops a tornado on whoever he's looking at. Just got to get out of the way, no problem. Hurricane Kick is a large attack around him. Again, just get out of the way. Touch of Slaughter is one of the big ones. He targets someone, punches them all the way down to 1 health, and then you have to heal it off. He will not typically use any other skills after this, so you should be fine to heal it off. But do be mindful that if you happen to get hit by it and don't heal quickly enough, you might get hit by another AoE and die. You will also see throughout the fight that he summons dragon heads that fly across the arena. There's nothing you can do about those other than dodge. He also likes to use this combination of Rhalgar's Peace and Rosa Destruction. Rhalgar's Peace forces you to run away, while Rosa Destruction forces you to move back in towards one of your allies. It's basically designed to split you up, so if you can stay close to your party, that's beneficial. If not, just be prepared to run towards whoever's got the stacking buff or stacking indicator on them. When he uses Furious Fist, just like this, all you gotta do is run around and hit the orbs. It's pretty simple. Even if a couple orbs get to him, it's not a big deal, but more than 2 and you run the risk of people dying, so do be mindful of that. Once you finish Furious Fist and you enter phase 2 of the fight, it's all of the same attacks as the first phase, except for he's going to use them more often and typically try to combo them together. So you see Spirit Wave being comboed into the Dragon Heads, then being comboed into Rhalgar's Peace and Silent Roar. And again, just to kind of summarize and put a point on it, this fight really is just about properly dodging AoEs. Just be mindful of what's going on around you and get out of the way of the AoEs ASAP, and you should get through the fight no problem. And if you've made it this far into Final Fantasy, you've dealt with dozens of fights very similar to this where it is all about movement and being aware of what's going on around you. So you should have no problem with Ivan once you understand the few AoEs that he uses. Anyways, that's it for this level 70 dungeon. After you beat him, you can claim your sweet I-300 loot and finish the dungeon off. I hope this video helps you guys out. I thank you all for watching, and we'll see everyone next time.